This is the plaintiff, Robert Buttman. He says he hired the defendant to install shades on his windows, and the inept guy did such a bad job it fell, grazing his wife's head and landing on his poor little Maltese dog. His dog was very badly injured. He had to see an orthopedic surgeon and now requires physical therapy. He now seeks reimbursement for the broken shade and vet bills. The defendant refuses, and here they are. He's suing for $2,375, the amount owed. This is the defendant, John. He says the plaintiff has a highly explosive personality, and he thinks the guy got mad about something and yanked down the shade out of anger. He had a certified Hunter Douglas master installer do the installation. The hothead jerked it out of the wall, and he's sorry his dog was hurt. But nothing happened here that was his fault. He's accused of being shady.
All parties, please use your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff hired the defendant to install shades, and one of them fell and actually hurt the plaintiff's Maltese. But the defendant says he thinks the plaintiff yanked the shade down out of anger. It's the case of someone shady.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Robert Buttman and Veronica Greeny, you are representing both of you here today?
Yes.
Okay, you're suing John. You've asked us not to mention your corporate name. You're suing John's window treatment company for $2,375 in vet bills plus a refund on a particular shade, which, according to you, injured your dog. And how did you find the defendants to be the people to install window treatments in your place?
Their name was referred to us by a friend of ours.
Okay. So you hired them to do how many windows in your house?
It amounted to 4 shades.
Okay.
It's the best way to explain it. Three of them were to be automatic shades. One was to be manual.
Okay. And by automatic, you press a little remote control?
Yes.
Okay. Which is the shade in question that became the problem?
The manual.
All right. So what happens with the manual shade? The installer's there and he's putting it. What kind of? Do you have a picture of it?
No.
Do you have a picture of it?
No, Your Honor.
Could you describe it to me?
It's a Hunter Douglas roller shade.
Okay.
In a cassette. It has a clutch on the side.
The honeycomb type?
No, it's a rolling down type fabric. It's a screen shade, right?
Okay, so you can see out.
You can see out.
You can see out, but presumably they can't see in. But my neighbor says he can all the time. All right. So I don't know if he's just messing with my head, but okay. So talk to me and tell me with the manual one, was there an issue while the installer was installing it?
The installer took his tools, including his ladder, and left the apartment. I started to leave the kitchen, and I heard a crash. I turned around, and the shade is on the floor. And
how did that happen?
My wife was raising the shade.
And as soon as she went to raise the shade, like, how did that happen? Did a chunk of the window frame come out or something?
No, it just came loose from its brackets. The brackets, I still have them in place.
And what happened?
The shade crashed down, and the dog was there. The shade came loose, it hit my wife, and then it continued onto the floor and it hit the dog.
Did it injure your wife?
No, she said she's okay.
Dog?
Yes, it did.
How?
It cut his foot, her foot, and it broke 2 toes.
Oh, geez. All right, so did you take the dog to the vet?
Yes.
Do you have the vet bills?
Yes.
The vet bills ended up totaling $1,775?
Yes.
Is that because it was an emergency service or just because that's what it cost?
Just over time. The first thing we did was take her to our local vet. He took the x-rays, which I have copies of, and he said she's got a broken foot. I've got to take her to an orthopedic surgeon.
Good Lord.
So he referred us to a doctor in Cooper City, which is not too far away.
Can I see all of your vet bills? Your vet bills total $1,775?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a picture of the dog?
I do.
May I see that too?
Yes.
So when the dog gets injured, what do you do? Is the guy still there, the installer? Is he still down the hall or something?
Yeah, he was waiting for the elevator.
And what
happened? I called him back in.
Thanks, sir.
Oh, goodness, that had to hurt. What day does this happen?
It started on November 5th.
When you brought the fellow back, what did he say? And what did he say?
The installer was beside himself. He was in tears.
Who was? The installer?
The installer, yes. I mean, he saw the dog. He was crying.
Okay.
When I spoke to the defendant, he said, okay, don't worry about it. Whatever the vet bills are, send them to me. I'm well insured. It's not a problem.
And then what happened, though? Because obviously that did not happen.
So if the shade falls, is it automatic negligence on the part of the window installer?
Yeah, sure.
Just because it falls, period.
Not if you yank it down on top of you.
Well, no. Let's say it wasn't yanked down. If it just falls, is it automatic negligence?
What if it's the manufacturer who's made it or something like that?
Okay, that's actually a fair point, real quick.
Well, it also depends on the infrastructure around it.
Oh, God, we don't have time for infrastructure. Going inside the courtroom.
My understanding, sir, is that when this first happened, that you were very apologetic and your installer was very upset and you have insurance for these matters. So why wasn't the bill paid for the vet?
All right, Your Honor, I didn't say I would give it to my insurance company. I said I would pay the vet bill.
But you didn't do that either.
Because the demand letter that I got talks about an $854.49 veterinary care bill, yet the demand letter was for $4,488.
May I see the demand letter?
And I thought that just sounded a little greedy, and maybe I thought Mr. Buttman thought he might have hit the jackpot here. There was an accident, obviously. Nobody would do that to their dog. Nobody would want that to happen.
Oh, I know this lawyer.
Everybody knows that lawyer.
He's great. I like him. He's really nice.
He's a
what? He's a what?
Clown, Your Honor.
Okay, no, he's not. But his letter is a little ridiculous. I have to agree with you. Immediate return of the, oh no, I understand that. So it's not because he thinks it's a payday, it's because at the time what he was asking for, was that the amount of the shades?
He wanted the amount of the shades.
No, and the position of asking for all the shades out of there, I agree that you are right. That's not fair.
Your Honor, he
but
didn't
I understand
want to give the shades back. He wanted the shades and the money for the shades. It doesn't say take your shades out.
Take your shades, yeah.
No, it doesn't say that.
No, I know it doesn't. Okay, so you thought that was unfair. So do you call the gentleman and say, look, I'll pay the vet bills?
I spoke to him.
And fix the shade, obviously.
I told Mr. Buttman immediately when it happened, before we knew, thank goodness, that the dog would be okay. I told him that I had the shade and I would return it to him. What happened was... What do you mean that
you had the shade and you would return it to him?
Well, in the process of falling down, a plastic component on the shade broke from
Why
hitting
did the shade
floor.
come down?
Your Honor, I don't know.
But it's not his fault. At the end of the day, you can't take instruction after all the years you've been in this business from a layman about how to install the shade so it doesn't fall down and break a dog's toe, right? That's still on you.
Absolutely correct.
All right, so let's talk about what you do feel, which is the issue, which is the amounts. He's asking in this courtroom, forget this attorney. He's asking in this courtroom, I know this attorney because this is my hometown that y'all come from.
So there you go.
Yeah, so he's asking in this courtroom for the $1,774.34 in vet bills. And I have them in front of me. I don't know if you've seen them. I assume you saw them in the letter.
I have them in front of me as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you don't think that's unreasonable, right? You agree that I should issue an order against you for that.
After I had a conversation with the attorney on the phone, after my second conversation with him, I told him, please, if you're going to sue me, I'd rather talk to a judge than you anyway.
Oh, really? You did not get along with
I said, don't call me anymore. However,
why? What was he telling you on the phone?
He was trying very, very hard to intimidate and threaten me.
Did you ever say to him, let me just pay you the vet bill?
I tried to, but that wasn't satisfactory.
So did you say it and he said, no, we won't take the vet bill?
Correct.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, he said things about there's emotional damage to the Buttmans and suffering and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, see, here's the thing. I know we all love our dogs, but there's no emotional distress or pain and suffering or any of that with a dog.
I like my dog too.
Yeah, right.
When Mr.
It's property damage.
When Mr. Buttman called, I offered him $1,500. Now, keep in mind that I thought there was an $800 and change, less than $900 in vet bills. I did offer him...
Because those were the initial vet bills, right?
Well, I thought that was the total. Nobody told me there were other vet bills coming. And after my conversation with the attorney, if you look carefully at the services rendered for the dog, after my conversation, they took the dog for a rehab consultation, laser treatments, massage treatments, trigger point therapies, and some other stuff. And it sounds more like a spa to me than a veterinary office. I don't know, Your Honor.
Right,
maybe,
I don't either. You're not an expert, I'm not an expert. The only expert is the doctor who said that was necessary for mobility of the dog. And, I don't think someone's going to willingly beef it up just to be able to come here and then not ask for $4,000, but ask for just the vet bills and the shade.
You know what, Your
At
Honor,
the end of the day, that's what he ended up doing.
I wouldn't know, but at the time, I didn't know.
Two broken toes.
Yeah.
So just talk to me about the shade. How are we going to resolve the shade issue? What's up there right now?
Nothing, just the brackets. And
I've had the shade and been trying to redeliver it. I've told Mr. Buttman he can have the shade at any time, and it's still in my office, and it's ready to go and get put back up.
Don't you want, okay, so what is your game plan here? What are you going to do?
We don't want the shade up for one reason. It didn't look right. But a more important reason, we certainly don't want this happening a second time.
No, I understand. So I'm just curious, what is your plan for that window? You're just going to leave it without a shade?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, so do you have the original invoice for all the shades?
Yes, I do.
May I see it? There we go. I'm going to order the defendant to pay the plaintiff the amount of the vet bills plus the amount of the cost of the shade, which is $424.45. And that's a total of $2,198.79. Verdict for the plaintiff. Good luck, folks.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So the plaintiff gets the vet bills and the cost of the shade. How do you feel about the judge's verdict?
I'm happy for Sparky.
Okay.
And I'm happy for Mr. Buttman. He shouldn't have had to have all of those bills.
Do you think you could have worked this out without coming to court or not?
Most certainly we could have if both parties had been more reasonable about it.
Been able to talk to
Yes.
it. Without the attorney, maybe.
Certainly. The attorney is who screwed the whole thing up.
Interesting point. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
You must sign some documents out there. Mr. Buttman, how do you feel about what he just said, that if you hadn't had the attorney there, you may have been able to work this out without coming to court?
Well, actually, I spoke with him on the phone myself.
Yeah.
After the communication with the attorney, and obviously we weren't able to work it out.
Okay. You satisfied?
Yes, I am.
And how's the pup?
She's doing fine.
She's doing good?
Yeah.
Recovered?
Yep.
Good. Go home, take care of her, all right? Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
All right, Harvey, what do you think?
Doug, I got to say, this is interesting because this is a principle that's really important. If somebody breaches a contract, they can actually be responsible for damages that exceed the actual value of the contract.